What's up, guys? I am back like I never left before. It's a very sunny and pretty warm day. It's about 10, 11 o'clock ish here in Southern California. And I felt like today would be a good day to talk about my R8. But before I talk about my R8, let's talk about what got me to the R8 or how I landed in an R8. So this will go back a few years, and by a few I mean like let's just say 2010. For some reason in 2010, I was moving along in my career pretty good, and I was like, hey, you know what? Like I really want a Lamborghini, but I didn't want just any Lamborghini. I wanted a 2008 to 2010 Lamborghini Gallardo or Gallardo Superleggera. And yeah, when I started looking, at the time that car was like 150 to 200,000. And also at that time, I was like, man, that is a lot of money. Like it's a tall order. So I put in the work. I started working, started getting after it. Then around 2014, I started to realize, hey, I can actually touch my dreams. And this is pretty cool. So I made a notion in 2015 to go after one. Well, at the time, I got my then girlfriend, now wife, pregnant. And I said, hey, you know what? I'm going to put that on hold because, a baby is it's kind of a big deal. It's my first kid. I'm early 30s, and I don't want to be like, oh, I'm about to have a kid. Let's go buy, a $200,000 supercar that doesn't really fit for kids, not for a family of three. So instead, I put that dream on hold. Fast forward a little bit, I had my second kid in 2018, and I was like, wow, that Lamborghini is getting further and further away. But nonetheless, I was more excited, like I'm having my second kid, and it was my last kid because I had a vasectomy after that. And I was like, no more children. I don't want to keep putting my dreams on hold. So I'm plugging along, and then I think it was, early 2021, I went to go look at the Lamborghinis again. But this time I wasn't looking for a Superleggera anymore. I had kind of grown away from that. I just wanted a Huracan. And for me, being me, I didn't want to drop out on a brand new one. I just felt like that was just ridiculous, like to spend that much money on a new car that depreciates that bad. So I was looking at a 2015. First year for the Huracan, same motor as the 14s and, other cars. But, so the motor's pretty reliable. But for the most part, like I knew what I wanted. Now the saying, you don't want to meet your heroes is very true. Once I got in that car, I realized I didn't care for it. It was cool, but it just didn't do it for me. But sitting right next to that Huracan was this Audi R8. So when you go over the car, you're like, hey, it's the same motor. It's a V10, 5.2 as the Huracan. A lot of the Lamborghini parts do say Audi on them, and a lot of the Audi parts come from everything else. So essentially, it's the same car. Right then and there, my wife was with me, my kids were with me. My kids were super excited. The dealer, he wasn't able to start up the Lamborghini. I can't remember. Anyway, he was able to start this one because it was like parked in the outside part of the showroom, like in the garage area. So he started it, and I was like, as soon as he started it, I knew that I was going to buy this car. And I think he knew that. That's why he did that. Because at the time, I was just going to go look at a car. I had no intentions of buying one. So I made a decision. I bought it right there on the spot. I've had this car about a year now. And I go back and forth on this all the time. This car is awesome in every way. But it's kind of like having, let's say you go and have Thanksgiving dinner at a family's house. And I'm using this as a reference because it's recently happened to us. You go there, you have, the the first part of the meal. Then you have, like your entree. Then you have your wait a minute, no, that doesn't even sound right. Let's just say you have your first part of the meal, the middle part of the meal, then you have your dessert. Let's say you get to the dessert and you realize something's missing. And that's how I am with this car. I drive it all the time. It has plenty of power for the everyday ride. It's very comfortable, very reliable, and gotta knock on wood because don't want nothing to happen. For the most part, it's an awesome supercar. But when I'm driving it, or I should say, as I've driven it, about a year now, you start craving more, and it's kind of like that meal. You're like looking for more. You're like something is just not quite there. So I go back and forth on falling in and out of love with this car. Hence, for the most part, I love this car. I'm just gonna put it right there. Power wise, plenty of power. Stock, I think they're 540 horsepower, or it might be 562. I'm not for sure. I know it weighs like 3,500 pounds. It's all-wheel drive, or it has a quattro system on it. So I'm not sure what the setup was on that, but it's, for the most part, it's all-wheel drive. It sounds amazing, and for the most part, for a supercar, you can daily this car. So we'll go over some things about it right now. And like I do in my other videos, we'll start with the trunk. And on this one, the trunk just happens to be in the front. So for me, up here, this is plenty of room. Get that set up right there. For me, this is a pretty decent sized frunk. It's not as much as our Model X that we had, but again, I didn't buy this car because I needed like trunk space or anything. So for the most part, you could fit quite a bit up here. You can charge an item or whatever up here. It has a little light in here, although I don't know why you would need a light because, and then you got your safety latch here in case, like one of the kids got in there and you couldn't get the trunk open. You can maybe talk them or coach them on how to pull that latch to get out. And then you go over here and there's your windshield wiper fluid. So that's all you really see from the front up here. From there, let's work our way around. Let me close that up actually. As you come around, this is what really sold me on the car, was the red and black interior. So it had the diamond stitching in the seat that I like. It had the carbon fiber that I like. And as I mentioned before in my other videos, like with the BMW, this has just a touch more carbon fiber everywhere. And it kind of just shows it off. The ceiling, or the roof, has a diamond stitching also. The seats, this was another cool thing I liked that the Huracan did not offer. And the Huracan, the seat was a fixed seat like this. This one, on a long drive, you can push this out and it'll tuck right behind your kneecaps. Like I call them your knee elbows. It'll tuck right under there and give you just like a little bit more comfort. And I think this car, compared to the Lamborghini, just has more comfortable things to offer about it. You make your way back here. You get the V10, and you can't go wrong with a V10. The Huracan that I looked at, it had a louvered back section, and I was like, oh, well, how much is it to change out the glass? Because I would like to showcase the motor. And I can't remember if he said like $3,000 to $6,000, but it was more than I wanted to spend. I was like, at this price, the car should just kind of come the way you want it. But I wasn't complaining because, it was a used car market, so it's not like I expect it out that way. I don't like how the gas cap is on this side. I wish it were on the driver's side. I can't tell you why on German cars they put it on the right side. Maybe they drive on the right side of the road. I don't know. I didn't look it up. Passenger's side, very, very roomy. I'm not very tall, but I'm not very short either, and it's pretty comfortable. So for me, with this car, let me get that closed up real quick. It's actually a very, very comfortable car. Like I said, you can daily this car, which I do. I used to take my truck out everywhere, but because of parking in San Diego, I actually just hop in this all the time now, or not all the time now, just more and more. If we're not going like with the entire family, or we're taking my wife's Yukon, we'll take my R8, and I can just run little hobbies. Another good thing about this car is if you're like going grocery shopping or to the hardware store as I do, being that you're limited on space, you don't you tend not to like over shop. So where to next? Oh, let's talk about the infotainment center. An R8, you'll notice there's no dash in the center. There's no center console dash, no nothing. The only thing you get right here are climate controls, and then for your seats, which is passenger seat, driver seat. Right here is the infotainment center. Everything is right here. Oh, I gotta go find the key. I just had it in my pocket, but anyway, you get the idea. The infotainment is here. You get your shifting and everything right here. Got your e-brake, which I always set. And yeah, it's very minimalistic in here. You know what? Actually, I'm gonna go grab the key real quick, because I think you guys need to see what I see when I'm ripping around in this car. Oh, and when you get the key, you'll notice it is very Volkswagen. We'll go with that, yeah, very Volkswagen-y. So right there, and this is actually what I drive it on. I have my tire settings because I have that one pesky tire that always wants to stay super low. And yeah, so this is what you would get on your settings. You can run this car in classic mode and it does a different default, but if you ever like looking at the map, I thought this was pretty cool about this car, that it's all built in right there, and you can zoom in and out all you want for the area. And I thought that was pretty cool. But for me, I usually have it in this mode because I'm more concerned with like how fast I'm going, my RPMs, and then tire pressure, because I don't want to suddenly lose tire pressure. I did think it's odd that I have these aftermarket shifters on here. So when I'm driving, it's actually really hard for me to see the fuel way over here. The temperature is way over here, and it also tells you it down here, and then on the other side it'll tell you the transmission temperature over there. But yeah, I thought that was odd, that just kind of like how that was, but it's cool nonetheless. You can also go through your telephone lists. You can go through your Bluetooth lists. You can change the view on that. It'll have it right there. It'll pop up, yeah, it's Justin Bieber with some CD cover. I don't think that's his, but it'll put up that little bit of information. You can go here. It'll tell you which tire's low, which I already know it's my driver's side rear tire. I don't know how you clear that out besides going and actually like going into the settings and clearing it, but it's not worth clearing because you have to address the issue. I always tell people, getting rid of a check engine light doesn't fix a check engine. So yeah, you have that. But yeah, for the most part, it's direct and to the point, and I couldn't complain about it. Oh, let me get back over here to the climate control. So right here, you have your AC. I don't mess with this. I always, like every car I've ever had, I've always just hit auto and I put the temperature that I want, and I leave it at that. There's no need to keep like adjusting the fan speed. If you get, like I told my wife, if you get hot, turn the climate down. It's like a thermostat in the house. Just turn it down, to where you're comfortable. It'll adjust the fan the way it needs to, and same thing with the heat. The seat heaters in this car are by far the most intense seat heaters I've ever experienced in any car. And I've got my Denali truck. We got my wife's Denali SUV. We got her Corvette. We've had Teslas. We've had every car that could offer heated seats. And this one, by far, as soon as you turn it on, be ready to be warmed up, because that's what they do. I can't say too much negative about this car, but like I said, I have an internal battle with this car that I feel like it's just missing something, and I can't put my finger on it. Actually, I can. I say it all the time, and the only thing that's holding me up from doing it is me, because I go back and forth where I go, I really want this power upgrade, but then on the other part, I'm like, I can't justify spending that much money, like, for a single power up. Like, it just, oh man, I'm so torn. Maybe one day, but not today. But yeah, I'm gonna end it there. Like, that's just a quick rundown on my R8. The next video I'll do, I'll probably try to get out and do like a driving video, because driving this car is a lot of fun. It's not as much of a handful as you would think it is. It does require, a little bit of, or a lot of bit of driver input, but for the most part, the car handles awesomely. Like, you couldn't ask for more. But yeah, I'm gonna get out of here. I'll let you guys get to it. Thanks for your time, and again, hit that like button.